Father in heaven, please help me as I share a thought or two this morning. I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Good morning, friends. Over the years, I've gotten a lot of remarkable letters in the mail, but the one that stands out most in my memory is after we had finished the school in an island in the Philippines called Siquijor. I don't know, a month or two later, I got this letter, and on the return address it said the Philippines, but the name was from a young lady named Jollibee. And of course, who can forget a name like Jollibee? So we opened up the letter, I read it, and then after I read it, I was really amazed. I said, Darlene, guess what Jollibee enjoyed most in the school program, in the jungle school, what she enjoyed most. And of course, somebody might guess, well, the hydrotherapy class, or the Daniel and Revelation class, or the cooking class, or the nature walks, or all the different things that we did. And that's not what she said. She said, I'd wake up in the morning, and I smell breakfast cooking, and I was just a feeling of security and safety. And I thought, that's it. You can learn Bible prophecy in the book of Daniel. You can learn all these things, and the intellectual understanding of truth does not give you a peace that passes understanding. That's Philippians 4:7. In fact, I remember there were two young ladies in the school. Here's the table where they sat, and they would study. Darlene and I had a little room there was a little set of stairs, and we had a room off to the side. And sometimes I'd go into the kitchen to visit with our cooks or get some water or something, and I'd go by the table. And one of our teachers, Bill, here's a picture of Bill. Bill Wynn was with us in the Philippines. He was kind of supervising the food operation. He had been a student in our home at Wildwood, a young guy, and a really nice young man. He came and had some real responsibilities in the school. One of them was the teaching of health. And he was also teaching Daniel. And so I would go by the table, and the two girls that were sitting there, they'd ask me a question about, the book of Daniel, some prophecy in Daniel 9 or something. And I'd say, well, this is what I think. Give them the Bible verses. And every night I saw them studying, just really intently studying the book of Daniel. And then they had the test. And I asked Bill, I said, how'd those two girls do? By the way, they were just coming back to Christ. They'd been away from the church, just coming back to the truth. And they came to our school. Bill said, well, they didn't do too well. They both failed the test. And I thought, thank God he doesn't grade us on whether we can pass the test, but the effort that we make, the motive in our hearts. And I thought if I'd been the teacher of those two young ladies, I'd have given them an A for effort. The Lord wants us to make an effort. And they did. And it wasn't so much how much knowledge they had attained. It was their heart in their study, was their heart in the relationship. And this is what Jollibee said in the letter. She said, my heart was warmed by the fellowship there in the school. Never forgot that letter. And of course, Bill was teaching a class one day on nutrition. I was, part of my job was taking water up to the classroom. The classroom was on top of the hill. Here's a picture of me carrying the water jugs up. I was happy to do it because that's how I got my exercise. And Bill was teaching a class on nutrition. And, after the class, he came up to me and he said, Lew, we studied that the best and the healthiest diet, we studied this is what the healthiest diet is. Low in saturated fat, high in fiber, phytochemicals, all the physiology, all the good things you want to know about the gastrointestinal system and the stomach and digestion. I studied all that with him, he told me. He said, you'll never believe what they did. I said, well, they're probably down there having a snack on goat, because goat was a very popular food in the Philippines. He said, but I just told them. And then they go down there and they eat that. And I said, well, Bill, just because you told them does not mean they know. Friends, there's a world of difference between knowledge and an actual heart conviction and application of the truth we've heard. And you can teach something all day long. It doesn't mean it's been received into the heart. The Lord does that. The Lord touches the heart. When He puts something in our hearts and He gives us a conviction, this is what really prompts change. Darlene went through that many, many times, and so did I. And if you're just changing because somebody gave you some opinion or somebody shared this, Down the road, you meet somebody else with a different opinion, and you just waffle around. You never can get a solid experience with Christ. And I told Bill, I said, look, let them develop a personal experience with God and let God take what you're sharing and apply it to their hearts if what you're sharing is true. And so the food was a real challenge down there because Bill didn't know a lot about, how to cook for the Filipinos, maybe didn't know a whole lot about cooking. But he was willing. It was a willing agent. So he'd go to the market. He couldn't speak the language, but to try to shop and get all the food and bring it back, that was a real challenge. And it's a challenge a lot of people don't want to meet, because cooking, food preparation, that's an important part of ministry, and it's a lot of work. I remember there was a lady there in our school named Glen Rose. Here's a picture of Glen Rose. I call her the vanishing cook because, we put the students on the schedule for cooking. So, one day every whatever, they would have to get up, go to the kitchen and help prepare and put things out for the meals. But when it was Glen Rose's turn to cook, boom, she vanished, didn't know where she was. And as it turned out, she would go home when she was on the schedule to cook because she didn't know how to cook and was afraid to learn. What's interesting is we did 16 schools in the Philippines over the next almost decade, and Glen Rose was our food manager. She was our cook in those schools. We got a good friendship with her, and Glen Rose was directing the food operation from somebody that knew nothing about cooking to a real expert on the culinary arts. In fact, we were also doing some institutional ministry back in the States. We were at a sanitarium, a health center, and Glen Rose came back there and helped us in our kitchen. Then went to Wildwood Hospital and helped in the food ministry there. So you see somebody with really no talent in that area develop to be an exceedingly good cook. So Glen Rose was the vanishing cook. And, as we were going through these different times in the classes, and we had some real exciting experiences there, too many to name. At some point in there, Darlene got sick. And it was a challenging experience for me because I thought, Darlene could die from this.
One of the worst experiences that I had in the Philippines was when I got measles. That was on our second trip. We were doing a training school on the island of Siquijor, very small island off of Negros Oriental. We had 4 other people with us, and I was one of the teachers. And I started feeling sick. I don't know how long this was into the trip, but I checked my temperature, and it was running around 102 for a couple of days. I was still teaching. There was no one to take my place. And I just got sicker and sicker, and my fever by this time was running close to 104. And Lew started giving me hydrotherapy treatments. We decided that a hot foot bath might help bring my temperature down. And we were somewhat limited in what we could do. And so he gave me a hot foot bath. And then after that, I went to the shower, and he took the hot foot bath and poured it over me, and then I ran cold water from the shower. So I got a hot and cold shower after the hot foot bath. And it did bring my temperature down enough that I could go to sleep. I realized I had red splotches breaking out all over my face. And I thought, measles, it looks like measles. And it was kind of scary because it affects basically the whole body. And by this time also I had developed a cough. My mouth had sores in it, and water tasted very bitter. I didn't want to drink, but I knew that I had to because I would get dehydrated, and that's really a formula for failure with measles if you get dehydrated. And people do die from measles every year, a lot of people. And being in my 40s, it was a little scarier. You don't handle it as well as you get older. And so I remember Lew made oatmeal for me, a very thin oatmeal, and I took the water from it, and I just coated the inside of my mouth to help with the sores in there. I had a water bottle that was a used one from something else, and it had a very tight cap with a little spout on it where you could, squirt out water. And I just laid on the bed and let that drip into my mouth to try to stay hydrated. I developed a cough that was so bad that I actually strained muscles in my chest, and I had to sleep sitting up for a while. Every time I laid down, I coughed more, and it hurt so badly. But there was a big chair in the corner, and it was very comfortable, and I just sat there most of the time. My eyes were sensitive to sunlight. I couldn't read really, not very much anyway. I had some music with me, some hymns that I listened to. And Lew was gone during the daytime. He just went back and forth for more than a week to teach and let me recover, and he would come back at night and take care of me. I couldn't eat very much. I didn't have any appetite. I felt nauseated if I tried to eat. No appetite at all. So I lost quite a bit of weight, and the fevers persisted. I think I had a fever, at least some fever, for at least 11 days. And this turned out to be, though, one of the most precious times with the Lord that I've had. It was just me and the Lord during the daytime, and I would listen to the music and just pray and ask the Lord to help me through it and pray about different things. And it turned out to be such a blessing. Would I want to be sick like that again? No. But the Lord used that to teach me many things, to reach my heart, to show me that He was there, He was my friend, He was my comforter. And so I can say there was a blessing in it. Eventually, I got well enough. We went back to the island. I was very weak, but I was able to gain some weight back and get better, but it took quite a while.